Ah, hello. Welcome to the Blindsided podcast. I think this is episode 17. Wow, 17 weeks have passed. That is awesome.
It is.
And today's episode, we're going to be talking about attachment and attachment. So, a few weeks back, we did our podcast was Acceptance is the Key. And this one could have been attachment is the lock. We're going to dive in, unpack, and go towards people, places, things, situations, outcomes, and stuff that we don't realize. And we're just going to talk about it, and that'll be fun. Hello, I'm Charlie Collins with the podcast, and I'm a speaker. I do training and some seminars, and Brenda always reminds me I am a best-selling author also.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brenda Hayden, and I'm founder of TimeForAttend.com. We actually help people with emotional intelligence and emotional awareness by teaching them how to challenge their conditioned thinking, which will change their reality for the better. Glad to be here today.
But it will just change their reality. And by doing the work, that new reality might not be the one they thought it was going to be, but we know it's going to be better because this stuff works if you work it.
Sure does. Sure does.
So, my gosh, when did attachment start? And it's basically aligned with, something, just a simple thing. Oh, we're going to an event. And I already have the way the event's going to be. The weather's going to be right. Everything's going to maybe like a backyard at somebody's house, big cookout, and they have a pool and the people and the music and all that. So I have like an intention in my mind, like this is going to be fun and everything. I get there and there's not that many people. They're only cooking hot dogs. The pool's not open. They're playing yucky music. And I am now like not in a good mood. I'm attached. See, what happened was for me, I was attached to a certain outcome. It should be this way when I get there. I wasn't back when I struggled with that stuff, Brenda. One thing I didn't do, I didn't think, what can I bring to the occasion? Now, I don't mean like, cookies or a platter. I mean, what can I bring emotionally, spiritually, and thought, that helps and makes it a better event for others. I would go to the event thinking this event needs to be a good event for me. And I didn't realize, but I had like a little collection of attachment, like it had to be that way or I was going to be grumpy. I didn't realize that I was doing that. Basically, it was just part of me. And until I started doing the work that we do and waking up to, how about just try to think about what can I bring to the occasion? And it's not about the pool, all that. It's just about finding your lane when you show up.
Wow. That's great, Charlie. I'm thinking about attachments, and as you're talking, like, where did it start? And you said something really important, which is your attachment to the outcome. And I think that's what I want to talk about. Like, I also would have attachments to outcomes. Like, you used a party as an example, and that's a great example. So when I was much younger, like when I was in my 20s or 30s, and I would, want to entertain, and I would plan a party, it was not about what I could bring to the party. It wasn't about, how it would feel to engage with my friends or whoever else was coming and having a good time. It was about how many people were going to come to the party. And if they didn't come to the party, I tied that to my worth. That's an attachment. I was attached to an outcome. And the outcome for me wasn't that everybody had a good time. The outcome for me was, if they love me, they'll come to my party. And if they don't love me, they won't. And it's almost like when I think about that, I mean, that's way back to childhood. I mean, do you remember being a little kid and we didn't have birthday parties, but being in class and not getting invited to someone's birthday party and finding out about it and personalizing that? Do you remember ever having an experience like that? You probably didn't because you were the most popular guy in class.
No. I didn't, no, I don't remember ever not getting. I know my girls went through that, but maybe boys don't, or I was too busy playing on my BMX bike in the woods.
But it was an attachment to an outcome. It was an attachment to an outcome. And if you peel that onion, I love peeling onions. So if you peel that onion and you keep going back and back, it starts in childhood for me. And it starts with my family of origin and what my emotional experiences were with my family of origin. So what do you think about that?
I think that fear is quite an evil and corroding thread of our life. And I think that this attachment to approval is also, because then it has to be that I get approval, and because my worth is tied into what you think about me. And that was before. Now let me contrast it till now. I don't I mean, that crops up a little in areas at times, like, ooh, I want to make sure, but nothing. That was crippling almost. I mean, approval. And if I didn't get it, I just felt lost, alone, and I shouldn't have done this. I know, then it triggered trains of thoughts and then different emotions, and like nobody's coming to talk to me. I hate everything. Yeah. So this attachment to needing approval by outside of you instead of inside that puts the key into the lock too.
Sure does. It sure does. And if we bring it into today, I mean, I have 3 kids, and the significance they place on the amount of attention they get on social media is exactly what we're talking about. It's defining their worth by how many likes they're getting, by who's responding to their posts, if anyone is responding to their post, how they're responding, what they're saying. And it really feeds into that, grabbing from the outside to feel okay on the inside. And as we've talked about in several other podcasts, so what's the problem with that is when the outside stuff isn't there, you're empty and lonely and depressed and anxious. And, usually when we're feeling that way, it doesn't turn out well. We act out on self-seeking behaviors. We do self-harming things. And it's just not a healthy place to be. So social media is another way that we, exercise this kind of need, this attachment to validation. I'm, guilty as charged myself for a very long time. And it pops up. It popped up when I started going to Columbia. I didn't feel like I was as smart as everybody else, and I didn't belong there. And, so I had this, I'm not good enough attachment. So attaching meaning to things that don't have meaning, attaching meaning to things that don't have any meaning is really, if we start talking about that, we could probably talk about it all day. Like, does it matter who else is at Columbia when I'm there? No, it just matters that I'm there. I'm going there for me to learn what I want to know so that I can do something that I want to do. Nothing else matters. But that old story kicked in that said, oh, you're not good enough, and you're not smart enough, and you didn't get into Yale, which I wasn't qualified to get in any, so this is going to work. And, that all that nonsense kicks in. It's not reality. It's not even real. This is where challenging conditioned thinking comes in. It's an old tape. That's all it is.
But your Columbia experience, that went away, and then you became present and a part of, and you were just as equal. You weren't better than or worse than. You just were part, one of the bozos on the bus. And, then you were able to see what could you bring? How could you help the other kids? And they were kids.
Some of them, yeah.
Yeah, I remember you telling me, you're like, I'm in a class of like 20-year-olds. And it's like, yeah, that's but Brenda, you had a high intention, right? Yeah. So man, there was so many things said, but
I know.
attachment goes, if when we as people find that we're seeking approval, and then I am my home, I am the car I drive, I am the way my property looks, I am, because I know when people walk by they're thinking, so I am whatever they're thinking, even though I don't know. I am the job I have, I am the degree I have, I am. So if we put all of that together, I'm attached to seeking and doing. So something outside of me, I'm not comfortable in my own skin. So, and with that type, that didn't last too long. I did get the things, and I had the boat and all the things, but I had this constant need of needing more, because I wasn't getting the approval if I brought a group of guests down to the boat. And you know I had a list in my head that I didn't rehearse, but I would think, if you're anything like me, you would tell the boat owner how nice the boat is, how awesome it is to be here, how thankful you are that we invited you, how, I would go, I'm like that. Not everybody is. So I realized I used to get struggle when, well, I would do that for somebody, or I would loan that money, or I would cut that lawn. Like, how come people, I don't know. I think when I would be attached to the way I was doing it was the right way. And it made the most sense for the entire world. And I just, then when I started to let go and realize, like you said, you were on your journey. You had an intention, you had a goal. You wanted a more degree and learn a certain type of schooling, and which you did do, and you graduated. And you know, I didn't have that. I had I didn't have a clear intention. I had, what do I need to do to seek approval, to like my outcomes, to look good, feel good, sound good, to be accepted. Because if all that wasn't lined up, Brenda, then I felt alone. And the funniest thing is, I need approval, but I'm going to isolate now because I'm failing again.
Yeah. Yeah. Spot on, Charlie, as always. And so that's, the attachment to all the outside things. That's the attachment to all the outside things. And then, there's the second school, which is the attachment to the inside things. And when I'm talking about, when I say attachment to the inside things, it's attachment to the way that we interpret other people's behaviors and the way we interpret the world and what's happening in the world. And the only way, I was talking to a client about this the other night, the only way that we could interpret information coming in is through what? It's through our own experiences, our own personal experiences from the time we were born till the present day. That is the lens by which we're going to receive information that's coming in. Think about how limiting that is. So in the example you were giving about your boat party, right? Would it ever occur to you in that moment that one of the people you invited could give a crap about the boat? They were coming to see you, so they didn't compliment you on the boat. Like, that's what I'm talking about. It's the story, the attachment to the story that we keep telling ourselves about the way the world is and how it works and the way people behave. And they kind of go hand in hand, don't they? Because the outcome, the attachment to the outside things for validation and approval and self-worth, when those outcomes don't work out the way we want, then we're sitting with that muck on the inside, and the attachment takes on a new form. It takes on the form of, now I'm going to assign meaning to what's happened here that isn't based in reality. And that's where this suffering comes in. Like, you could have a moment of pain on your boat when the person that you wanted to say, oh, this is a great boat, I love it, doesn't say that, right? So that you don't get the outcome you're looking for. You can have a moment of pain. But then when you go home and you start ruminating about it for a couple of days, well, maybe they didn't like my boat. Maybe it's not a great boat. Maybe they don't like me, right? Maybe they don't like me. That's the attachment to the story that we tell ourselves about ourselves and the world. So they do go hand in hand. It's fascinating when you dig into attachments where it is. And that's where the suffering comes from. So there's a difference between pain, it hurt my feelings that you didn't like my boat, and then suffering. You didn't like my boat because, and then you go into all the stories that you're attached to about the world and how it works and how people see you and what they think of you, really, the stories you tell yourself about that. And for me, that's the level I need to get to, because that's where all this suffering comes from. I can experience pain, or I can experience pain and suffering lasts a lot longer. No, thank you.
And again, because I am not me, I am my boat. So my worth came from what you think. I know what I think about it, and it's the best thing since sliced bread because it's mine and I've worked hard at it. But if you don't recognize that, then I'm nothing. Even though I'm a good guy, all the things like, oh, you're so funny. We have so much fun together and this is great. And yeah, but what about my boat? Because I am my boat when I'm on it. And you need to recognize that, or I'm going to push you overboard. So, and Brenda, like, people didn't think to ask me what size engines I had, or how the electronics worked, and what kind of subwoofer I had, and how does the water system work that in the holding tank. It's like, because I loved all that. And, and when I went around boats and different things, I asked those kinds of questions because I'm interested. But then I realized there's people that they're not interested. You said it, Brenda. Can you imagine? I mean, what do we have? 60,000 thoughts a day. Okay. But we have 300,000 things coming at us every day. Now, I made that number up, but it's more than 60. If you think about all the radio, the internet, the street signs, and the people talking, and this thing, that thing, the phone ringing, the text messaging. So what we do, as you said, as you were talking, we build a story, and that lens is where we live in and we're attached to it. So we delete and distort most of the things that come at us all day long. I could be in a room with somebody and they could say, oh, did you hear that? What? No, I was somewhere else. I mean, no, as soon as it started to come in, I deleted it. But the scary one is something comes in, I distort it and I align it to my story. So my truth, what I thought I heard, aligned for me better. And maybe it disregarded you. So at work, when I worked with employees, I would say, we would talk about a project, right? And then I would say, would you repeat it back to me? Because your filters, the way you distort information, I want to make sure that you heard me clearly. And it was so cool because sometimes people, I'm like, I don't say this to the person, Brenda, but I was like, I didn't say that. But maybe my communication wasn't as clear as that mind needed. So I got to figure out a better way to communicate with somebody, because I take responsibility and don't blame anymore. Almost always.
I can identify with everything you just said. And, you ever hear this saying, that eyewitness testimony is the worst testimony of all? Right? And why is that? Do you ever wonder why that is? Like, relying on your memory, and I'll tie this back to attachments, relying on your memory of something. In other words, the story that you're telling yourself is coming from a memory, is the worst place to build your story from, a memory, because the memory is never accurate. In fact, it's so inaccurate that they don't use eyewitness testimony anymore because of that. Because you'll see something or experience something, and the way that you're going to take it in is, like you said, Charlie, it's based on that experiential lens that you have. And it's an experiential lens. And really, when I think back on that, like, I can't remember if you asked me today, if somebody said, how did you get venture capital funding after the bubble burst? My company got venture capital funded after the bubble burst. I couldn't tell you. But I sure could tell you how I lost that company. I could tell you about the pain. So it's interesting to me that like the really positive memories, like they're a little foggy, but the ones that caused me pain, oh, I could tell you in a second. I can give you a list of all the things that caused me pain. And it's a very distorted list based on that lens. So the attachments that I have are, this is how I explain to clients how it's really not based in reality. That if we take a simple memory, for example, a memory that causes you pain, and we inventory it and we break it down and peel the onion to the exact nature of what was going on in that specific situation, 9 out of 10 times the client I'm working with goes, oh, I didn't know that. That's what they say. I didn't know that about their own memory about a situation that was going on because it was so distorted by that lens, that experiential lens of their past. And it's beautiful to watch the lights come on when they say, oh my gosh, I never thought of that. I didn't think that could be what was going on. Like, it's just fascinating to do that kind of work with people. I love it.
I love it.
I do.
know you do. I know. And I again, I just going back to like intention, goal, and because I guess over time I I guess I was feeling a bit like a victim and the shoulds, and I wish it was easier. I wish I wasn't legally blind. For many years of my suffering, I hadn't attached like I'll be happy when they fix my eyesight. And I don't believe that it certainly won't come in my lifetime. They can't do eye transplants yet. And I don't know why they had to tease me with the $6 million man.
Oh, Charlie.
Remember the bionic eye?
Yeah, I do.
I want one. Anyway, and I'll let them test it on me. So I had this like belief, which then really anchored in and built its hard wiring around. I had this attachment to that, and that triggered I'll be happy when, I'll be able to succeed, I'll be able to get a better job, I'll be able to be a player along with all you sighted people. But until then, life sucks, and that's as good as it's going to get. Of course, I turned to alcohol and other things to help lubricate me through that time. So intention. And so if I got in my boat, I am so happy the boat came to me. If I got in my boat and the people on it said, so where are we going? I don't know. Okay. And I just, and then wind and water and current, who knows where you're going to go. At least in a car, if you hold the wheel, you're going to go straight into something eventually. But a boat, you could hold the wheel straight and end up in, way somewhere, wherever the water and wind takes you. And that's how I kind of was, even when I had a company, I would just show up and deal. I put on my fire suit and put out fires and created several. And, and it's like, so what was I attached to? Like, I like things should be better. People should treat me different. Employees should understand it's not easy, and, don't bother me. And, I had all these weird things going on because I didn't have a clear intention of the day. How can I help others? What can I do to best serve the power greater than myself? How can I meet people where their struggle is so I can help bring them to a solution and guide them on a better path, living with blindness or low vision? And thank God this work shifted me where I could, I started having, instead of just showing up, I had an intention. Because even Brenda, you and I both know if I have a starting point and an end point, I want a goal. I want to put this big thing together and blah, 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 have a big event. But life's going to throw curveballs, and it doesn't mean to. It's not person. It's not to hurt me. Maybe there's a lesson in it. But you're going to get, like the first curveball or the first off course of that, I would give up. See, I knew it wasn't going to work, but then I realized that it's never a straight line when I make a decision, unless I decide to sit up straight. You know what I mean?
I do.
When it involves the universe and other people, there's always going to be course correction. And I'm no longer attached to the outcome. Like, it doesn't have to be this way, because even if I work hard to get to that place, it's who I become in the pursuit of the $1 million. Well, I have $10, but I'm happier.
You said something really important, Charlie, about intention. And you're right. It does all start with intention. What are you looking, what is your goal in this situation? And I know for myself, there was a time in my life when the things that I bought, right? The cars, I also had a boat. My intention wasn't, oh, I really want this car that, well, actually with the car it was, but with the boat it wasn't. I really want this, or I really want that. Let's just leave it a generic example. My intention was, I wanted to be seen. See me. I'm important. I'm successful. It was that validation that I was seeking. It was the validation. So attachment to the outside things for being okay on the inside. And you're right. When you take yourself out of the picture, right? When you're not looking to get anything, you're looking to give. When you set that intention, everything changes, because the outcome, at least for me, it doesn't matter. It's exactly the way it's supposed to be in that moment. I'm not looking to get anything out of it. So it just flows. You know what I mean? So if it works great, then it works great. If it doesn't work great, then maybe I'm supposed to try something else. So, and I wait, I don't rush off and try and, take a hammer and force that round peg into the square hole. I don't do that. I just wait and just let it flow. And that's the difference in before the work and after the work. I don't need anything to be a certain way anymore, because the outcome isn't up to me. It's up to the universe. And that's a really nice place to be. Really nice place to be. But you're right. It starts with an intention. My goal here is to serve. Yep.
Where our intention, and then our attention, and where we where we give our attention, our energy flows.
Yes.
So then we don't get caught up in the 1,400 other messages and things that are coming at us. Focus starts to happen. Follow through. A feeling of just, I don't need anyone to show up and tell me how great I am, because that doesn't work anymore, because you might need to say it 8 times, because I have this attachment to how many. No, I'm just kidding. But all I know is that I can walk around, whether I walk the lawn, I did a little work, starting to scrub that, and I just was looking at like, oh man, that's going to be a lot of work, but progress, not perfection. I'm happy that I started. I did the ladder, I followed through, put everything away, and then I stood back and looked, and I felt good. Now, I'm having a neighborhood party tonight, and if every single person tonight doesn't recognize my hard work, I'm going to kick them off my property. And that's a complete joke. I didn't do it for them.
Right. Here's the fascinating thing, Charlie. When you no longer have an attachment to outcomes, you don't need the stories. You don't need a story to tell. So you're not interpreting anything through that experiential lens of injury. I like to call it my Coke bottle glasses of injury. I don't need to go searching for a story to justify the outcome that happened. It doesn't matter, because the outcome doesn't matter. No story, no distortion.
Yep. And that is definitely something that took time to get to that short thing you just said, to where I can accept that, because it is the key, and to continue to be responsible. I can only respond to the way I think, feel, and the behaviors I take, and not the event of life and things that are happening outside of my control. I always giggle, because like the Bible, the big book, they say the same thing over and over in every chapter. And when we're doing this, it's like, gosh, it's always around. But maybe for me, I was sitting in a seminar and they talked about attachment. And I was like, oh my gosh. But if he had just said, you need to take responsibility for the outcome, don't blame the outcome. It's how you respond to the thing. I needed to, I needed to hear different ways until it clicked in my brain where I realized, and Brenda, when this deleting, distorting amygdala, really it passes through that almond shaped part of our brain and it decides what we're going to hear and what we're going to do. Now, we built that, as you said, from childhood. Okay. Yeah. But I don't know. Hey, be careful who you hang out with and the things you do, because you're building a paradigm that by age 35, 95% of you is going to operate from that unconsciously. And you're going to wonder why your life is starting to suck.
Right.
And you can hire Brenda or Charlie and we will unsuck it.
Yeah, we definitely will. The thing that happens too is when you stop taking in that information and interpreting it. In other words, when you I like to say it is what it is. It's got no meaning. The universe has natural intelligence and I'm going to go with that flow instead of the flow I want to assign in my brain. I started looking at people differently. It's that, you change what you look at and what you look at changes. And I started to feel differently about myself because I wasn't feeding myself all of that negative, this has meaning and that has meaning and they did this because of me. But taking myself out of the picture, my life was much better. So there's all this stuff flashing on the screen, Charlie. Once again, I haven't been paying attention here. So, oh boy, there's lots of people wanting to know where the party is, Charlie. What do I do?
Give them your address.
I'm not giving her my address. Nope. What time is it? Where's the party? Can I come? And then there's Kate and Carrie are saying, "Oh, party at Charlie's house." I'm gonna leave that up to
neighbor
you.
of mine to come, and if you try to show up and you're not a neighbor, well, then we sick the golden retriever on you. So yeah, we're just having a local little neighborhood party, and no band, not like the big one I've had. We'll have that soon enough.
I hope you have a great party today. It'll be fun.
I have no attachment.
Yeah. I think I remember a couple of years ago coming over there the day after, and there was all kinds of chalk on your driveway. People had drawn all kinds of things on your driveway. It was great. It was great.
I spray painted parts of my driveway last night.
Oh, yeah? That sounds like fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Charlie, attachments. What's one of the biggest attachments that you have today that you're still working through? Put you right in the spot here.
No, I'm trying to think of an attachment. Well, I definitely studios. Getting it right. Working on just this type of platform, the thumbnails I do. If somebody was saying, "Oh, that's good enough," I'm like, "Who the heck? Get away from me!" Good enough? No. So I got some, and I know, and as you ask me, I know it's because I need to perform well. I'm less than you. I'm legally blind. Of course, that story has been deleted. Thankfully, it's not distorted. But that story is no longer. I don't go there. I only get pissed off that I'm legally blind when I do something that requires maybe asking for help, using magnification, better lighting, and I don't have because I don't have the tools. I don't have it thought out, and now I'm mad. Dang it! So I think one of mine is doing it right. And it's not so much that I get you guys hitting the thumbs up and the like and the shares and all that. It's because I want to show up feeling good about the work I did.
Excellent. And tell me what you do. What are some of the tools you use to manage that when it pops up, when you start to tell yourself the story that it's not okay or it's not good enough?
It, what do I do when I feel tension or I'm starting to type like my fingers are hammers? And I'm clicking my mouse and then I'm hitting it the other mouse button by accident and things are opening. I have my screen magnified and I can see a part of it. And I realize it's almost time to, punch my screen. I guess not punch, but like I start going into the mind of the old behavior. No, not behavior, thought. Like I'm not good at this. And it's like, no, when I start to feel that tension, it's like twisting something. When I start to feel that tension, I take a breath and I say, maybe I need to go walk around the house 8, 9 times. Maybe I need to go to the fridge and drink some water. Maybe, and then I come back and reset my mind. And guess what? It works.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And that's the same. That's the same one I struggle with. It's this message that I'm not good enough that just creeps in and out of. It's very invasive sometimes. And it's very old, comes from a really, really young age. And I perpetuated that. I experienced a lot of trauma and then I perpetuated the trauma throughout my life. So it's what do they call it? Evil and corroding thread. And when it does pop up, it pops up and it unsettles me for much less than it used to, but that it's still unsettling me at all is what I'm working on, because it's just not true. I'm exactly who I'm supposed to be in this moment. And, perfectionism is really not anything that I strive for anymore today. And I do some of the same things you do. When that old message comes up, the first thing that I'll do is I'll ground myself. And so what does that mean, grounding? What does grounding mean? Grounding means I get out of this box, because that's where the message is coming from. It's coming from history, trauma. It's coming from a very old place. I get out of this box and I take a journey into my heart. And I usually do that with some meditation music or some simple sense exercises. I'll close my eyes and before I close my eyes, what can I see around the room? And then I'll close my eyes. What can I hear? What can I smell? What am I touching here? So I'll go through the 5 senses and that'll get me out of my head and out of my amygdala and right into my heart. And then when I'm in my heart, I know that everything is exactly as it's supposed to be. As a matter of fact, it's not even just that everything is as it's supposed to be. It's I'm reacting to a circumstance. That's all anything is in life, is a circumstance. And I get to choose whether I'm going to give that circumstance power or not. And when I'm in my heart, I can see that truth. When I'm in my head, I can't see anything except the pain. So the grounding is really important for me.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. And you said I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be in this day, this moment. Okay. I recognize that. Do I want to stay here? No. But I'm feeling it. I'm seeing it. Maybe I've done some things that brought me to a place where I don't want to be. It could be the way I was working on the computer. I got a little lost and now I'm running out of time. You know what I mean, right? So, but instead of fighting it, I shouldn't feel this way. I should be happier. This shouldn't have taken this long. Oh my Lord. But I say, I'm exactly where, what can I learn from this? And how can I move forward? And then it's gone. Mm-hmm. It's like, because otherwise I'm going to lose, even though I might shut my computer off. Haha, I won. Or but I still have it in me. And that in me will show up in me as I go through the day. It'll come out in a store. It'll come out in a conversation, because I have untreated garbage that I am allowing myself to carry around. Maybe I have a little attachment to garbage.
Maybe that could be a whole nother podcast, our attachment to our pain. I wasn't going to bring that up in this podcast because we're just introducing the topic, but there is an attachment to pain that many of us have. It it can be invigorating. And a lot of people are attached to pain because it's all they know. It's familiar. It's comfortable. It's like that warm, fuzzy blanket. I remember, there was a time in my life and it wasn't too long ago, when there was a lot of chaos and emotional turmoil. And then I ended the source of the chaos and emotional turmoil. I moved past it, right? And in a very short period of time, my life was completely transformed into just a beautiful, I have a beautiful life. And as I was going through that transformation, Charlie, I remember it was really hard not to have something uncomfortable going on. If somebody said, what's going on today? What's bothering you the most? What's the hardest thing for you to deal with today? And I said, the calmness, the quietness, the beauty. There's nothing wrong. It was really hard to make that transition from chaos and mayhem to calm and tranquility. I was looking for something to chew on, if you will. And it came out, where it came out at work. There was somebody that I never had a problem with at work, and I've been working there for years. And all of a sudden I had a problem with this person. Like, that's all me. So that's my example.
Oh, how I could relate, Brenda.
Yeah.
Attachment, unless you use another A word, addicted. I was addicted to suffering and pain because that's all I knew. And when I started having these moments of clarity, and I'm sure they were given to me all through, but I would shut them down like, that's foreign. And then when I started doing the work, I started having a little peace. Like, I wasn't battling thoughts in my head. I was just present. I'm like, this is very uncomfortable. I like suffering more because I'm good at it and I know what to do with it. I'm not saying it certainly didn't serve me or people around me, but hey, I built the tools, the skills, and a life around that. And I hit it for the most part. But anyway, I too, it's like, why? How could I be at perfect peace and ease? How come, like you just said, you could see the forest, the beauty of the forest, even if there was some ugliness in there? The old me went to the one tree that was rot, and it would be like, see, everything sucks. Well, there's 100 other trees that are beautiful. I can't see those. This tree and I, we're buddies. We're going to rot together.
Yeah.
And, so, and this is for everybody on our podcast who listens to this, no matter what struggle you're in, pain you're carrying, or blaming that you do, and complaining and rationalizing and justifying, and maybe hitting the sauce a little too much, or doing whatever, I'm not judging because I've been there. But I can tell you, I was at the end, like at the jumping off point. Like, I need to end this. I cannot go to I'm hurting people. I'm harming my family, not physically, but emotionally, by disappearing and getting sicker. And, when you're at that jumping off point, like, well, I don't know, when I was there, and the you is people listening, it's like, I'm either going to die or I'm going to grow. And I look at it all around us. Things are either growing or dying. And I thank God when I jumped off, I jumped into the much scarier area, asking for help and starting to grow.
Me too, Charlie. Same jumping off point, same solution, asking for help and learning to grow. And it's been a journey beyond my wildest dreams.
Yeah, it has. And I remember when you talk about bright-eyed and skin glowing, when you did the work you did after the situation, I'm like, holy God, who are you? You always were bubbly and everything, but you no longer were carrying around a hefty bag of other people's stuff.
Right. That's
but calling it mine.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, don't we do that? We fill up our bag with other people's stuff, and you're dead on. We don't have to do that today.
we carry it around and we blame that person for my suffering.
Yeah.
Well, I got to carry your crap all day. No, you don't.
Let go of the bag. Go to the dump. Anyway,
Yeah.
this has been great, Charlie. Great podcast today.
Yes, it has. And a couple ideas came out for our future ones. We will have a guest with us next Saturday, and we will do this more. Please, of course. Let me show you. Oh, Brenda, I moved it to time for a 10 information below. Would you like to just tell them to go over there?
Oh, absolutely. Please join us at timeforattend.com. You can book a session, or you can go out to @timeforattend.com on YouTube. There's a lot of educational videos out there, and we would love to hear from you. I also want to tell you that the way that our coaching model works, because I don't think we've shared that yet, is, we ask clients to do 5 or 6 one-on-one sessions, and then we will put you in a Zoom where you can work through your disturbances. You can inventory them and turn them around with a group of coaches and a group of other like-minded people. And that Zoom is absolutely free.
Well, yes, I'm working my way in to become more with time for a 10, because I have time for a 10. Well, actually, I've got the same amount of time you do. It's how we invest it. But that's another one, another podcast. I want to do on-course, off-course too. So yes, thank you for that, Brenda. And, Charlie Collins, Blindsided, if you want me. My email is in my YouTube channel. So let's move on to the next slide. You ready?
I'm ready.
So please, if you feel you've received value, you please share it. Do the deal. And I can tell you that if you do it or you don't do it, I'm still going to have a beautiful day. My worth doesn't come from likes, and because I don't do much of it. And I hope you don't dislike me because of me not liking something on a page on an internet. All right. I'm getting crazy. Goodbye, all. Thank you kindly, Brenda.
Have a great party, Charlie. Enjoy.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.